some people sitting and waiting. I don't know, but there we go. We're live. All right.
Please silence your cell phone.
The movie is about to begin. All right. Well, let's get rolling. I'm really excited for this chat. Welcome. I never do evening streamings, and it's largely because this time is usually associated for my wife and I to just sit and chill together after working all day, the two of us in our different directions, and then we sit down together and have some time before
now I'll be your entertainment. Now I'm your entertainment tonight. So by the way, Chris, you're dressed appropriately for the night.
How's that? Because I'm all in black?
That's because it's the same outfit O.J. Simpson wore on the
Hold on. Let's see if I can get this to fit.
If it doesn't fit, we're gonna have to quit. So see, that's what you call going off the rails.
There you go. There you go. So. Hey, look at that. Paul Pate's joining us. Hey, Paul, how you doing, buddy?
Oh, I know a guy named Paul Pate.
This is the time that Paul is always preferring that I would do streamings on, because unfortunately, doing streamings during the day for the most part is challenging for people that are having usually their computers dedicated to work time at home. So
Paul Pate is usually out wilding at this hour. So that's
you think so? You think so?
I'm sure
it's where he gets in from solving his latest case, where he's taking down city corruption. At this point in my understanding of Paul Pate is that he may very well be Philip Marlowe, or Sam Spade at least. So I got a request. I got a request today for a 1-page comic. For the Sam the Private Eye character that I have 3 different pages of in a book I put out last year, the 1-page comic extravaganza. And Gary Hodges has asked that I do Sam the Private Eye meets the MIBs from DVSM 1975. Enough letters there, Gary? But we got to incorporate Paul Pate into that. So because he totally fit into that private eye world.
Absolutely, yes. He's a real life private eye. No, I didn't say private dick, Paul. I said private eye. Okay.
So wild and out in bed. Wild and out in bed is the expression of the evening, ladies.
And sometimes, once in a while, his wife joins him. So it's cool.
Oh my.
So it's cool.
It's better than wild out in the streets, Paul.
By the way, Paul Pate, Detective Perez, if you haven't read it, go check it out. His very narcissistically, his art style, I love it, but it's because it reminds me a little bit of my art style as well.
So, there we go.
Yeah, he's great. He's a really great artist. I love his stuff.
Yeah, there's something to be said for a lot of the people that I've been really fortunate to meet through Artcasters and this extended group of everybody that gets to know each other on some different level. And Paul Pate, definitely a good one. Definitely a cool guy. I like him. He's all right. Don't tell him I said that, though.
He's all right. He's all right. But I myself.
Let's get cracking. Let's get cracking.
I'm ready to crack.
Thank you, Paul. So this is a different thing for me to be doing it in the evening. It's something I generally do in the daytime, and I generally do it in a sort of tutorial format or a live streaming format when you can see what I'm actually working on, either in the traditional desk I got over here or in the digital desk over there. But tonight, I thought, because I've had the opportunity to talk to Jim through these largely just text, like with text, but and I've really got the lovely grace to be able to see his work, and I'm quite taken by what Jim Lujan, who's joined us tonight, does. I really, really enjoy his films, and it's a funny thing. I heard a story about Jim, and you can correct me on this, Jim, if I get it wrong. You decided to do animation because you thought the comic books were too much work.
That's what I hear. That's the story
Is
circulating
that the
around.
story? Because I stayed away from animation, and I went on and did. I got into doing comic books instead because I thought animation was too much work. So,
Well, for one, let's let the record show that I am taller than Christopher.
oh yeah, there you go. Look at you.
I mean, it's the internet doesn't lie. So
There we are. There we
all
are.
right.
You got me. My hat. I can't measure my hat right now because that's cheating. We all know that.
So
But,
so here's the truth. So back in the late 90s, when Dan Clowes really first started becoming big and hitting the scene, I went for years without touching a comic book. Like I collected comics probably from the age 10 to like 15.
sure.
And in fact, I can tell you that the month I got out of comics, you can backdate this.
Is that right?
Yes, because I'm a huge John Byrne fan. I would collect anything he did. And I remember it used to be my dream for John Byrne to get on the Hulk. Like I was like, oh man, I wish he would take over the Hulk. And then I remember he took over the Hulk. I think it was after Alpha Flight.
Yeah.
He took over the Hulk. And I remember going to the comic book shop and getting that issue and going home and reading it. And I just remember thinking, I'm not excited about comics anymore. And it wasn't because the issue was bad. It's just because it just like I had other interests that I wanted to do other stuff. It just didn't have that same, the magic that you feel when you're reading a great comic book. It's
sure. Oh, for sure.
You can't wait for the next one. It just kind of ran its course. So from the age 16 to about 21 or 22, I didn't think about comics or anything. I missed the whole Image upcoming and the whole McFarlane and
you didn't miss anything.
Wow, I missed all of it. And then Dan Clowes hit the scene. I mean, really started. At least I discovered him, and when I saw that, I'm like, oh my god, there's something about this guy's style that really speaks to me. What's that? Well, it probably was, and I just didn't recognize it at the time as being 8-Ball. But yeah, and then I picked up a couple of his graphic novels when he first started, and I just thought, this is amazing. I want to tell stories like this. Like, I don't want to do superhero stuff. I want to do these little like mini movies.
Sure.
That was my interest, and even back then. And I remember sitting down to try to like plot some of these out. At the same time, there was a show called Fanboy Radio that came around, and I, through osmosis and through a bunch of weird coincidences, I became friends with them through a mutual friend that I didn't even know was a comic book artist. This guy named Jim Mahfood. I didn't even know he was. I just knew him as a person. I didn't know he was a comic book artist. And so all these things started falling into place, and then I just really got involved with like a comic book crowd, kind of like now. And I don't know, just I started dabbling and trying to maybe do a little bit of comics here and there, and it just didn't click. Like it wasn't enjoyable. It was more like, I don't know, it was really hard to explain. It just didn't fit. And I wanted to do film, like live action film. And so I got a little bit into that, and I realized, oh, you need actors for this. Yeah. So I was like, no. So then I decided I'm going to make my own. I'm going to combine the two things. And I was doing music the whole time.
Sure. And
so I wanted to combine the three things, film, comics, and music. And I thought, well, it's animation right there, And I didn't aspire to do like Disney animation. I went to a festival called Sick and Twisted, and I saw Mike Judge's early stuff, very early stuff.
Wow, that was great stuff.
Yeah. Inbred Jed's homemade cartoons, Frog Baseball. And I saw those. And again, much like Paul Pate stuff, I realized, oh my God, his stuff kind of looks like my style of drawing. And if he could do it, I could do it. And I just started dabbling in animation, and I started doing animatic animation with no animation at all, just the stills and then voices. And I probably did 3 or 4 of those. And then we had a public access TV channel in LA near where I lived. And I just drove down there one day and had a videotape. and said, "Will you guys play this on TV for me?" And
But
we did.
Yeah, but sometimes those actions work.
It did. Yeah, they were like desperate for programming, so they did. And I had a show. I had Jim Lujan's animatic cartoons on there.
Nice.
And then he came back. He goes, "You got more?" And I was like, "Yeah," but I didn't. So I had to go home and make more cartoons. And I think the like fourth or fifth cartoon I ever made was like a 15-minute cartoon. It was animatic again. It was animatic, but I did animatics for like 2 years, and then started slowly getting into like a little bit of movement, and then I realized soon after that, after getting some animation books and things like that, I realized, okay, the craft of animation isn't really where my interest is. Like, I never wanted to be a great animator, and I think I've succeeded. I just wanted to be able to tell a story and convey a feeling and not bore people. That was my number one thing. I don't want people to stir in their seats when they're watching my stuff. So I learned how to have flow, learned editing, things like that, learn music, how music can kick up a notch, things a notch. And so that's kind of always has been my perspective, coming from just entertain people, not like, watch this hand grabbing this doorknob, But by the way, shout out to you, though, right here.
Yeah. I thought it was a great comment. Yeah, I think that when you see people that spend X amount of time doing that action, like you say, like look at the perfection of this hand turning the doorknob, and then the doorknob that opens in this fluidic way. It's like, how much more story could you have got in the same amount of drawing, but drawing a little more of a simpler step down from that,
Yeah, I've always thought there's room for everybody, except there's no room for me sometimes, but there's room for everybody because it's kind of like music. There's room for people that are into progressive rock, watch this 20-minute tambourine solo, There's room for that. Then there's room for, in the club, there's room for everything in between. But animation, I don't know. It just seems like it's always been either like Disney. I mean, lately in the last 20 years, 25 years, like really high budget animation, or if it's underground, it's like super dark and filthy, like X-rated,
Not always though, right? I found out another thing that is similar with us is that I've always been a huge fan of Bill Plimpton. And I really enjoy, like, I got a book of all of the pages. It was a collected book of pages for his film Hair High.
Oh, cool.
And having this small sized book, it's one of the books that, having lent it to somebody to check out, and of course never getting it back again, it's one of the books that made me realize I'm never lending books again, because the loss of that book.
Was it Gary Hodges?
No, but we know about Gary. Gary. So it was one of those things where when you see somebody doing an animation in their own style, in their own form, we may be a little lucky here in Canada. There might be a little bit of a bias towards that, because the CBC and TVO and like in the PBS system up in Canada here, we had a lot of independent animators and creators that were being supported through our public dollars, through the CBC, through TVO, or TVO is Television Ontario, and CBC is Canadian Broadcasting Corporation, for those that don't know. And they would make all sorts of fantastic little animations with sand on a piece of glass, and just slightly adjust the sand drawing, snap, slightly adjust the sand drawing, snap, and then put all those together, and there's your anamorphic sand images. And there was all kinds of fantastic things that were happening here. So I think that there is a pretty fair undercurrent of really fantastic animators that's come out of Canada. But it doesn't necessarily mean that I, in any means, have my finger on the pulse of how easy it is to get those works out anymore. Because I think for a lot of people, it's too difficult. It just seems perceptibly to be too complicated a process to easily step into. And yet at the same time, once you learn about doing it, then it just becomes the discipline to do it, and the time it takes to pre-plan all that out. And then now with modern technology, how many different avenues do you think are out there for you to be able to short step a lot of those actions by doing it digitally? So
yeah, and there's a lot of distractions too nowadays, more than there ever were. And you kind of hit the nail on the head. There's things that you can take a photo and animate it, so that maybe that's scratching some of the itch, but ultimately I think it always comes down to storytellers. I mean, it's the bottom line. Storytellers. If you're a good storyteller or not, that's what people. I was lucky enough. I mean, weeks after creating my first animatic, it was a thing called Mayhem News. It was a little newscast, like a little 4-minute cartoon. And I would show it to family and friends because I had gone to Spike and Mike and thought, oh, I want to do that. I want to play my films on the big screen like that.
Sure.
And, but I realized my animation style was non-existent, so I had to fill it up with. I had to entertain in other ways. I had to make it funny and make it work. But I realized soon after I did that, it was weeks after I did it, when I went to that public access channel. So I've had an audience, and I've had the idea of playing my stuff in front of an audience literally pretty much from the get-go, from the first few weeks that I even started dabbling in it. So it's kind of it's almost like barely learning guitar, and then you're going to play live in 2 weeks.
And we call it punk rock.
Yes.
There's a whole power chord ballads. There's a whole thing in the underground approach, the underground aesthetic to engaging as a creator, engaging as an artist. My background is I went through high school, and then in the high school that I went to here in London, in our big high school downtown, there was two. There was an academic, and then there was a technical. And I went to the technical because the high school that I actually started going to which was a block from my house, closed down to become an adult ed. So I had no choice but to go to one of the schools downtown
or become an adult.
Yeah, well, there you are. So I chose that one, and so in the high school there was this additional extended art program building and broadcasting building, which operated on the college level. So I did 2 years there, 3 years there. And I never, so I finished my high school off in art, and that was it. And since then I've been out and going, living life and making pictures on the side, and, working day jobs and family in the morning, family in the evening, and everybody goes to bed. That's when I would do my thing. And so I've done that for, 30 years, 30 some odd years.
I was going to make a Paul Pate joke there.
What's that?
When you said once you when the family goes to bed, you stay up and do your thing. But I'm not, because I'm classy. It's classy, Chris, and I don't do things.
We're just going to mark it. It's there, Paul. It's just sitting on the wall. It's like chew bubblegum, buddy.
We love you, Paul, by the way.
Sorry. So for me, I entered out into the fine art stream as a parallel, as an underground guy. And so I set up alternative shows. I would get together a bunch of artists. We'd throw a couple of bucks together, buy some white paint whatever empty storefront I could get from a realtor downtown. We'd clean it up for them so he can market it to rent it out. But in the interim, we got a 1-month art show downtown with Hydro.
Yeah.
And so we did a number of those, and I got a fair amount of engagement and early days recognition as a young artist starting out. But while I'm doing these large paintings and drawings and things like that are upwards of 8 feet, 16 feet silliness, I'm always doodling on the side. I'm always doodling comics because it had always been an interest for me. But I never sat down to truly do it until about 2010. And in 2010, while I'm working on, now I'm doing portrait jobs, and I got a great opportunity to do a portrait of a prominent Canadian politician here who's now passed away. But So it was sitting in my studio downtown here in the city I live in London, Ontario, Canada, and that hung in our House of Commons, which is our White House, for a while. So that was cool. But while I'm doing these portraits, you tend to get lockstepped in when you're just doing portrait work. I find you got to do something else. You got to shake the tree a little bit, because otherwise you're going nuts. And so when my wife and I brought my studio into the house here and collapsed as we brought our houses together when we married, and we collapsed my studio downtown and the studio that I had in the house. And so when we were getting our big house together, set up, she found 3 finished books in a drawer that I had done. And one of them drawn entirely in ballpoint, in like just a blue
Chris,
ballpoint.
do you remember the titles of those books?
Oh, sure I do. Sure I do. Trials of Apex is the ballpoint one. And then there was the In the Land of Hyacinth Blues. There's a band in Canada called the Constantines, and it's actually written by the family of and about the lead singer of the Constantines, and it associates all of the band's song titles into the story.
That's awesome.
I got a piece in the house here called Credit River, and it's a bridge over top of a river, and the river's completely underneath the surface of the water is coins, because that's the way my brain associates things. So little things along the way. But when she finds these projects, and she said, you really got to do something with this. And so at this point, it's 2015. And so that's when we decided to try some self-publishing. But it's all parallel. It's all like you're talking about. To get around to my point, it's all parallel. You got to approach things sometimes from a parallel foundation as you enter out into that larger world. And the beauty of parallel is that you're always going to have unique and different voices in that circuit. I find that there's a lot of homogeneousness in a lot of the gallery setups, whether they're museum setups and formal institutions, or if they're consumer galleries, or galleries that are there clearly for profit. There tends to be a lot of homogeneousness of the art that's being sold and produced through those. And you're really not going to see somebody doing something out in the field, out in a sort of alternative vein. Not for the most part. No, of course I'm wrong. And of course there's tons of places where there are those setups. And in the larger the city that you're in, the more there's going to be. I mean, where you are, there's probably far more opportunities.
I'm super excited. That sounds so much fun that you guys would just take over a space, not take over, but fix up a space downtown and then just like guerrilla style do a show.
Yeah. Did 16 shows that way.
That's great. I think that makes the art even more fun. I co-managed a gallery for 1 year in Pomona, California, called the Eve Gallery or Eve Gallery. And one thing I went into it really excited because it was brand new. I wasn't used to the fine but yeah, so here's something I wanted to ask you. I've been burning to ask you since you come from that kind of the fine art background. I've always found that in the fine art world, if you don't have an interesting backstory, in some people's eyes, you've lost 80% of the interest. Do you know what I mean? You can't be like, this is Tom Watkins and he works at Foot Locker, but look at this painting he did.
Well, I'm going to say something horrible and biased, but anybody that's paid any attention to me for a little while now and realizes that Chris just says things and then deals with it later on. I find that I don't have any need to be filtered at this point. I'm sorry. I'm at that point where I just do my thing. If there's anything, it's the authentic me, right? I find that the fine arts community, the institution of fine art exhibition and selling and so forth, it's it's two things. It's you have to have a network, which is usually a biased network based on accommodation. So you need to know rich people. And two, you need to come from a level of accommodation that you can afford to the materials or the things that you need in order to be ostentatious enough to get noticed. You have to do the large things and the interesting things, and then third to that is your quirky self and your quirky skill.
Yes.
I think that unfortunately there's serious problems, and I that carries over for me to. I think that there's this absolutely horrid thing that's happened for fine art, and I would like to say it's new, but it is clearly not, and has clearly been the way it has always been. Is that you either have to be of the bourgeoisie or the intelligentsia in order to get those connections in, and you have to have money. It's all about who you know. And for a poor kid, single mom, with no opportunities and no connections and anything like that, that wasn't going to work for me.
Yeah.
So what I had to do was work really hard, because the people that would do these arbitrary things, and people go, "That's fantastic," and I'm looking at it going, "What the hell is that?" What you've drawn a circle with a stick, videotaped it, and this guy over here sweat on his film. This guy over here went out of his way for story, and this guy over here went out of his way for context, and went out of his way for, the problem of getting people engaged in it, and being in his film and acting out his things and doing these shots and learning all these things about the tools and tricks of it. You videotaped a circle being drawn with a stick, and you stand there like a pompous, arrogant lunatic. So I had huge problems with all of that.
Oh,
right?
I'm right there with you. I've always thought it'd be hilarious to have this, like, do an art installation, really, really, like, bougie art installation, and just,
sure.
and it's all it is me taking photos of other people's art projects, and then putting them and then selling them for like $100,000 each.
Is that right?
I'm gonna do that.
Gary's got something here. I have a friend in the gallery world, and my impression is buyers want that story about the artist to tell at cocktail parties. You see this? It's painted by a person who blah, 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 like the blah, blah, blah.
Wait a minute, Chris. You know how I know this isn't true?
How's that?
Because of that first sentence. I have
a friend.
Bullshit. Calling bullshit on it right now.
Paul asked earlier, is animation and cartoons much more popular in France? Therefore, Canada, France, Canada, different places. just in case. I don't know how people know geography. Not saying anything, Paul. I'm just saying. Quebec has a huge support. Quebec is a province of Canada, and Quebec has a big appreciation of independent film and independent theater and independent animation. That's definitely true.
Please, post Gary's comment. Which
one?
Let me tell you, Jim, I got one last friend as of that remark. And that's why we adore that boy, because he's a sweetheart.
Paul Pete will buy one.
Okay, you're in. We're in.
So my background, coming at it in this nonconformist way, and coming at it for art in a guerrilla style approach and an alternative style approach, and with a very punk rock headspace, and is the way that I knew I was going to do things anyways. I knew I was going to make things and tell things anyhow. There's a part of me that needs to have. I have a facility for exposition that I can't get rid of. I have a necessity to make things with my hands and to tell story. And so that combination of all those things, I was going to do whatever I'm doing anyhow. There was an interesting thing in my head that just said, the only way I'm going to get any recognition or any connection to the larger market is if I get better. And so that's where, my time when I was at this place called Beal Art, when I was at this high school program, my time, a lot of it was spent in the art library. And the art library, which was basically a closet, just a closet, just this little supply closet. But the art books that were in there were art books that I had not had the opportunity to see and to learn about artists like Anselm Kiefer, or which is this crazy abstractionist. And I'd never liked abstraction, but this guy it's not necessarily that it's an abstract piece as much as it is a piece that he has physically manipulated surface and dug stuff in and collage stuff in and pushed medium all around. And the grittiness of that changed my head. You know, that in combination of a love of comic books and a love of film, a love of books in general, you know, those sort of things all compounded together is the sort of secret sauce that sort of pushed me to tell stories. And whether it's telling stories, you know, like with visual painting stuff behind me, or if it's telling stories with comic work. But again, I couldn't, but not animation because it's too hard.
Well, what do you think about that? What do you think about that? I firmly believe that everybody is an artist.
Sure.
I never have believed in the separation, like, well, we're artists, and then there's the rest of the world. I understand when people say that. I know what they mean. Like, basically what they're really saying to me is, well, we express our interest in art, and the rest of the world doesn't do it as much as we do, which could be true. But as far as being an artist, anybody could be an artist. If you do art, you're an artist. It doesn't mean you're a great artist, you know. But
it's just a different type of communication. It really is.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a different type of for us to get our thoughts and our ideas and our exposition and our way of processing the world around us out. There's an interesting talk with a couple of professional comic artists. It was Klaus Janson and Bill Sienkiewicz. And Klaus the notion was that most artists are kind of a little bit on the spectrum. And I think they're referring to the autistic spectrum in this, because there's this challenge of communication of the world around us that we feel this necessitation inside of us to try to do a different way, whether it's music, whether it's singing, whether it's making film or animation or comics or paint, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Writing, whatever it is. It's just a different means for us to try to bridge those.
I have this inner competitiveness, but it's with myself, which sounds really like saying, you know, my weakness is that I just don't have enough weaknesses. That's kind of my weakness. No, but
my weakness is trying to fit in cars.
If I see somebody doing something extremely well, for example, your artwork, it's not that I go, well, like, I'm going to top that guy, because I can't. But it makes me say to myself, yeah, push yourself, like, do good work. Like, you want to do good. That's a reminder to do good work. Same thing with Paul, same thing with Gary, same thing with Artcasters. And it could be anything. It could be see somebody play an instrument really well, or somebody, you know, build a house. I don't know. I'm trying to think of 1,000 examples, but
sure. Frank Zappa.
Yeah, there you go. But it's just, but I do get an inner competition with myself, trying to push myself a little bit further and just get internally better, that I feel like I'm enjoying my stuff more. Also, I'm not one of the people that says, oh, I can never watch my own stuff.
Nah.
I watch my own stuff all the time, except I go in probably long phases where I don't watch it just because I'm busy doing other stuff. And then I go through phases where I'm like watching my stuff like an audience member, because I forget that I did it. So I'll watch something and go, that's pretty good. Like,
that's a sign of being proliferant. That's a sign. And somebody told me this because I do the same thing. And somebody said, well, you do too many drawings. That's why. It was such an easy.
What is too many? What is too many?
It's because you do too much. You do too much. Slow down. Slow down. Just take it easy. Lie down. But yeah, I can totally get that. I forget about. Oh yeah. I remember this.
Yeah. Oh, let me ask you this: do you ever look at your old stuff and go, I'm kind of fucking badass? You know, I mean, do you ever like look and go, wow, that's pretty good? Because I do that sometimes.
There's certain things that stand the time, you know, stand the test of it. But there is, like, I have a problem right now. So page that I posted yesterday, I think it was the red one with the guy with the lightning. I posted a page on Instagram and Facebook, and it was
I'm
about a
looking it up
guy.
now because it sounds familiar.
Yeah. So the point of it is, this is a character. I did a series called Elmwood, and Elmwood is this building in this city where there's this guy who founded the city is actually still alive. He's thousands of years old. Da 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 da. But this city that has built around this structure of this where the building is located that houses all of those that don't fit in the world anymore. And whether they're mythical or fantastical or just, you know, literary based, or just they just don't fit in the world anymore. And I mean in fantastic ways. And so I got 11 issues into that series. And then got caught up in a couple of other projects that I was doing for somebody else, or a couple other projects that I just got sidetracked on my own about. So I haven't. Issue 12 is the finish of that story, and when I look back at the early Elmwoods, the experimentation that I was trying in different Elmwood issues as they were coming out, what I do now is very different than what I did at the start. And it's only 7 years ago that I started Elmwood.
Did you end it suddenly? Like, did you just say, and then a tornado comes into the town? And
no, issue 11 is where everything comes to a head. All of the character development, all of the different characters throughout the entirety of this piece, they're all gathered at the building, the police, the fire, the ambulance, as the city shut down. The top of the building is blown completely off from characters' interaction. There's a dragon flying around the top of the building, and the heroes are about to enter inside.
Spoiler
and
alert.
I went on to do other projects. So it's just horrible, right? So I'm going to do a book this year called Elmwood: The Last Battle, and I'm going to synopsize the important happenstance in those previous 11 issues.
It's all a dream.
And well, I'm just going to synopsize the key moments, the key bits, and then just do the book, because I can't. It's not the same in any way compared to the earlier works that I was doing. And it was just because I'm learning printing processes, and because I do everything guerrilla and alternative. It's the older my books are, you realize that some of them are pretty punk rock, pretty alternative, pretty black and white gritty, smudgy gritty. And now, I drop
are there
pretty pictures.
Are there any projects that you've done that you regret, or you
No.
like, oh,
no, I don't believe in that.
Really?
Yeah, I don't.
Well,
believe
you might have done them different if you could go back in time.
Well, of course, right? But no, everything I did is a learning curve to get to where I am now. And anything that I'm doing, well, I might have, okay, I've done a whole bunch of stuff, but nobody knows who I am. And locally, people know that tall maniac over there is a lunatic, but nobody really knows who I am. And in the larger, broader, more broad context of the arts community and the comic arts community and the online community, I'm a baby. So when it comes to recognition, I have none. But when it comes to output, the one-page comic extravaganza volume 2 that I'm working on and I've been posting on and doing in my live streams is my 31st book.
That's
awesome. So,
how long have you been making comics? Since when?
2015.
That's great. That's a lot.
Yeah, but that's a lunatic, right?
Well,
there's a great.
Your art's good quality, so that's why it's not like you're doing stick figures,
I wish I could do stick figures.
If you try hard.
I really enjoyed. There's a great question for us to answer in a sec. I really enjoyed last weekend, the weekend before. My two oldest grandkids were over, and we sat down, and we did a one-page comic together that amounted to a 6-page story about Earth versus Mars, or this really elaborate story of Earth versus
No,
Mars.
not Mars bots, right?
What's that?
Not
What's
Mars
that?
bots.
No, not Mars bots. It was Mars. Mars has a plot to destroy the Earth, but they fail miserably. And despite that title,
Wait, that's the title?
That's the title. That's 11-year-old mind magic right there. And despite that title, spoiler alert, there's a planet that explodes by the end of it. So it's just, but to be able to do that with an 8-year-old and 11-year-old was absolutely fantastic, because that really primitive drawing style and storytelling whimsy is so reinvigorating. It really is. It's just, and so this guy is taller because he just stole the height from that guy. When did that happen, buddy?
That's the Marvel.
It did. Yeah, it just did. Yeah, so I love that. Paul's got a great question. What drove you to be a storyteller, Jim?
Cocaine. No, I'm kidding.
That's what made me start knitting. Anyways,
what drives? There's a difference.
What drives?
So drove would have been, why are we here? Drives is, where are we going?
I live here. Anyways.
Okay. What drives me to be a storyteller? It is an itch I must always scratch for some reason. It's been like that for a long time.
Sure.
What drives is great timing to ask this question, Paul, because right now I'm at the beginning of a new project, and I'm in the weird limbo that I hate to be in, where you're not in a project. I don't like to be between projects. I like to always. So I have two things going on right now, but one of them is a long-term thing. And when I'm thinking about that, it's, for me now, this is gonna sound so California, dude, but it's a vibe. Like, that's what drives me, is a vibe. Like, meaning, the last one that I did, I'd been spending a lot of time up in Santa Barbara, just going up there for the day, or driving around up there, and I got really inspired by the landscape and just the highways up there, just the woods, and just, it was beautiful. And I wanted to do a story that had that vibe. So that's kind of where it all came from, that. And then before that, I did one that was like, I wanted to do like a exploitation 70s feel vibe. And then before that, it's something else. So for me, it's always a vibe. It's like, what kind of atmosphere do I want to create? And then I start thinking about individual scenes. Oh, this has to have a bar scene that looks kind of like this. Oh, this has to have that. And then I just start piecing them together. But always remembering, trying to keep a story cohesive, because otherwise it's just like a collage, But a vibe.
No matter what, you're still going to collage in cool scenes. Like, you can't help it.
Did I mention the cocaine already? Did I? Okay, because there's that
too. There's definitely something to that, especially like when you say you're between projects, but clearly you're thinking about your next project.
Yeah, now, 100%. Even before I finished the last one, thinking about my next. Always.
Yeah. So you're never really between projects. That's the thing.
No.
I sat down for 5 minutes this evening before my wife and I watched our latest K-drama, because that's what we do. We've been really enjoying K-dramas lately.
What's K-drama?
It's bad. It's not that they're bad. It's just that it's this very stylized Korean courtroom / mafia drama romance.
Obviously, it has subtitles.
Oh, well, no, not always. Sometimes they're also translated. But anyways, we really enjoy a lot of foreign television. My favorite 3 shows in the last few years are, one's Korean, one's German, and one's Icelandic. So, like, I don't, there's just something about the tonality of how they tell their stories in a very different structural way than we do in North America.
Yeah, totally. I like that too.
Yeah, and when it comes to, Scott Circlin had a really interesting video today. I mentioned this, I think, earlier in the earlier stream. Oh, and just one 1 second here. We got a little flirt going on there. Thanks, Paul.
Thank you, Paul.
You got blasted on avocado wine and wrote his last film.
It happens.
Those are secrets.
It happens.
Yeah, there you go. There you go, Gary. So Scott had a really great video. It's a video that he has touched on before, and he says this himself at the start of it. Do you have to go to art school? Or do you have to do that? Do you need to go and to get a training? And I gave answer in the comments below. Sometimes that's a dangerous thing to do.
Smash that like button.
That's a dangerous thing to say. Hey, comment on what I just said, because you're going to get the occasional lunatic like me who gives you a paragraph. I'm as far as it goes for me, for what drives me to be a storyteller, I think that, like you, everybody has some art in them. But I think that there's some of us that are wired different, a little bit more than the others. There's a different synaptic connection going on for us that it's integral. You're not able to separate it. There's that balance between creative genius and creative madness, right? And I think that I'm leaning one way anyway. So I think that it's so integral. I don't believe in institutional. I mean, if you're going to go to college because it's vocational, and art's a vocation. For how long in history has art been actually something that's been taught like a trade? But I don't see university educations as being necessary at all for any creative endeavors, because I think that that's a place that filters out the creativity part. And largely because of those biases that I talked about the art field in general earlier on, with who you know and what your alma mater is, and how you're going to say something witty in the arts field, as opposed to, hey, just why don't you just get dirty? Why don't you just make something? And I think that there's so much that people can learn now and develop now with online, with networking with other creatives and other potential avenues for your films to be seen, or for people to see your work, or social media, or mentoring that's out there now, and YouTube videos, and every 2:00 every afternoon. Lunatics that I could draw today with what did I use today? It was drywall tape. That's one of the things I drew on that today.
I thought Christopher only had a profile. I didn't realize that he was 3-dimensional. What the hell?
So there's all these avenues that allows people to develop these facilities and to develop some degree of technical knowledge that can further those internal avenues, is what I'm talking about. These things can just build on. Once you get enough films under your belt, you've got your routine and you got your staging and process, and there's certain cognitive leaps that you're making because of the repetitive nature of it. And so you are a storyteller. You look at Dan Clo's work, and one of the best titles of any books, by the way, Like a Velvet Glove Cast in Iron.
Yeah, that's a great one.
Come on, who can look at that title on that book and not pick it up? It's one of those things where they're storytellers, and they're just storytellers, and so the more that you develop those facilities to do so, and whether it's a vocational school that you go to, or a college, or an art vocational school, but stay away from universities. It's a waste of money. It's just a waste of money, and I'll die on the top of that mountain. It's just needless expense that you can get elsewhere. If you want to go to university for an art degree, I will personally do streaming videos just for you to teach you not to do that. And I will show you every single thing I know, just to save people from that economic burden in a Western capitalist market that does not support that interest at all. Yeah. So I think that the more that you develop those abilities and those skills, you get better at the storytelling.
I'm against all school at all levels. Because you know why? Because it
What?
are dumb. It are dumb and
Yeah.
not to be smart.
I've been using this lately. This is a gigantic, thick primary printer from kindergarten.
Wait a minute. That in your hands, that looks like a little tiny golf pencil.
It is, which is the only weapon of choice as far as Gary's concerned. But this is absurd. And my wife wants me to draw a comic about the circle of life and talk about how this pencil is the circle of life, and now it's come back around again. But I think that this am the funnest. This am the funnest thing.
So
you need school. Get these.
I could have sworn I'd seen you do digital art as well.
Yeah.
So I started out. In fact, I will probably show you an example right now. Well,
yeah.
Here, this is my sketchbook.
Nice.
It's a one of those regular notebooks, but
nice.
I mean, I started out drawing, just with ink, pen, and then I would draw on these little sketchbooks, and I would scan everything for years and years and years, and then I was kicking and screaming. I got an iPad, which is, I realize as I say that, is the most Western problems statement ever made.
I got an iPad.
Oh my God. And get this, you know what happened? I had to get an iPad. Can you believe it? Oh my God. So anyways, I got an iPad Pro, and I was just really against using it at first. I was like, oh, I don't want to, I like having physical, tech. And now I pretty much do all my projects on digitally like that. But I mean, I will still, like, I'm working on some new stuff, and I'll still carry this around and draw on it or something. But so I'm not at all like, oh, well, digital's the answer. But I realize for me, for my specific, it's really a time saving measure, and gives me a lot of freedom, no more scanning.
I think
I want to know how you felt about digital.
Well, I think any tool is a tool, and it's not about the tool. It's about what we can find inside of it. It's what we can find inside of us to come out through that. John Lennon, I don't know much about the world, but you give me a tuba and I'll make you something with it. It's okay. This page, hold on. I'm gonna stick something up for a second.
Okay.
This is it's this. Here we go.
Full screen it. Well, I'm going to grab my sketchbook. Full screen that thing.
All right. So this is. There we go. This is Fight Shot. This is one of the multiple pages that I haven't posted yet that I've been working on. I'm at this point right now. I'm doing a page and a half a day, and I'm not saying that to be Mr. Braggy. I'm saying it like I'm just, for some reason, I'm really on fire at the moment. But
Chris is such a bragger. I'm glad he can't hear me right now. Oh my God.
Also, I've got fantastically large feet. So this is half traditional and half digital on the same page. So the panel on the right is drawn digitally, and the panels that are on the left are pencil crayon on a piece of paper that I scanned and put in the computer, which I do an excessive amount of at this point. But it works for me because I get to fuse the two things: my interest in the traditional way of working and the ability to step up the work that I do by utilizing these digital tools. But this page is half and half. So, I have no bias one from the next.
Yeah, and you can't tell either. I did when I was making the transition from pen and ink to digital. I was doing that movie. I think you might have seen it. A movie called Counterclockwise in Foreverland.
I love that film.
I'd say a third of that movie is digital, and you can't tell. I can't tell anymore which ones. But I look at the sketchbook and I go like, oh yeah, I didn't draw any of this. It's on paper, And that's when I realized it doesn't matter. It's just like you said, a tool is a tool. And I'm
When you
not talking about
transitioned
you,
to digital,
Mary.
did you start photocopying out your drawings?
What's that?
When you transitioned to digital, did you print out any of the workups that you did for it, just because there was still a part of you that needed to have something tangible to think about?
No, I left that like in a battered wife. I ran from the house with the kids, and I gave the finger. No, I didn't. I had no desire to. Let me show you here real quick. This is
Here, hold on.
Literally the average sketchbook that I would use to do my artwork in.
That's not what I want. I want this one. How do I make you bigger? How do I make you bigger?
And then I'll show you. I would always write on the back which titles are in here, so that for reference purposes. But like an average page would look something like this.
Oh yeah.
And I would scan that in and color it. And then there's some really, like, there would be pages like this: person driving with no head, and I would draw the head separately and reuse them all the time. And then also I want to show you something here. Somebody could probably freeze frame this and make a really good movie. But I'd also use my sketchbook as note collecting, just like planning out things. I should probably use this. This is pretty good. Anyway, but here's another billboard. It's a background. But yeah, just these sketchbooks were filled with floating heads and arms and sexy men.
Nice.
But
hey, is that me?
Oh, it might be. Maybe. But anyways, so that's what I on these size books, which are 5.5 by 8.5.
Yeah.
But that's what I would do all my films in until counterclockwise around that time. That's when I started switching to digital soon after that.
Yeah. And you just left for it. I'm curious, as to anybody that's joined us tonight, if anybody wants to weigh on this, are you digital or are you traditional? Anybody that's
Oh, look at Paul has a comment. Oh yeah, so I'd like to make a comment. I think most of Jim's films are brilliant. They're brilliant, and I think you should go watch them. And I am dead. Anyways, that was Paul.
Nice. There you go. Sounded just like him.
Paul Pate, yes, it does.
Yeah, Paul Pate.
Yeah. By the way, the first time Paul Pate and I ever met in person, we had a shamrock shake, and we both almost died from it. So,
and you discovered that neither of you enjoyed it when you were holding hands walking along the riverfront.
We were going like drinking shakes like this.
Drinking shakes like that. It's the only way to do it.
Yeah.
Okay, we got something here. Traditional. We got one vote in for traditional. I'm curious, Scott, if Scott Circlin draws digitally or traditional. Does anybody know?
I think he draws in virgin blood. I think that's what. Well, not anymore, but I mean, it's still blood. So.
I do know that he has been known to do work in an underground lair.
Yes, yeah, that's true. And I've been in the underground lair. Wait a minute. Let's brag now. I'm the first human being besides Scott, to ever film in the lair, because we went over to his house and Gary was there and Corey Kerr was there, and we all shot these little promos. But I shot mine first.
They were great.
So I think I should get something for that, like an award or something.
So when he prefaced that he was testing out to see if there was a new host for this channel, there was a part of me that was like, I wonder which one it'll be.
No, that was a lie.
It was a great.
We were not under contract. You can't replace Scott Circlin at all. We've tried, but you cannot.
Well, he's mostly digital now, like an AI.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's about the other question.
Yes.
And on traditional versus digital for Paul Pate, it's killer shamrock shakes.
Yes, of course. Yes.
Yeah, there's. I know that Gary Hodges works digitally.
Does he though? No, he works traditional. I think.
Really?
Does he? No, wait. You're right.
I always thought he has a computer in front of him. I thought he did his work there.
I didn't want to say anything.
The sketch covers and sketch cards traditionally. Oh, we got some hot
Gary,
goss.
this is a secret you can't share, but Gary, he's all AI. And I don't mean his art. I mean Gary himself is actually AI.
Nice. This is just a fake backdrop. I'm actually in the forest. I'm the complete opposite. Just barely domesticated at all, barely human, just in a completely opposite way.
Well, it's the internet, but Gary, I think, does work on maybe a pad, and it's digital and it goes into his computer. I think.
Okay.
Not an iPad, but like a plug-in pad. I think
like a Wacom or something.
I don't know. It might be. I didn't get to see him work. In fact, I don't even know if he's actually really doing the work. He wouldn't show me. Just saying.
Look at this. You can't stop circling. Can only hope to contain him.
That's right. We all live
in his lair.
Scott didn't call it his place Circland.
That's a short sight there, Scott. Come on.
Right there, Scott.
So because I have a large brood, when we would take the kids when they were younger places, anybody that I would meet up with that I knew, for some reason, it started getting circled around that when my family would travel places, if we would be called Runts a Nation, just because,
As a new fan, I have to tell you this.
Yeah.
I think it's genius that you wrote Run C Man on your. You sign off like that. I mean, it looks good for one, and it's really catchy. Like when I first saw your name, I got it. Having the name Lujan, I should have better respect for saying last names because everybody massacres mine. But when I saw your name, I was like, Run C. Like I was trying to say it different ways. And then when I saw your signature Run C, I'm like, there it is. I'll never forget that.
Yeah. That dawned on me last week. I used to for the longest time in showing in galleries, I'd sign with a C that goes into an R and loops back into a circle, and then UNCIMAN after that, right? And thinking that was my pithy art signature. No one, who the hell's that?
I had some one time they go, your name throws me off because why isn't it? It's not Jim Lujan. Why isn't it him Lujan? Like I'm like, yeah, I never thought about that. It's not very consistent.
The variations I get on my last name, and the only difference of how I'm spelling it right now is take out the hyphens and put an I beside the C.
Or just in your mind, just say Run C Man.
Yeah.
Just
but
don't
the variations I've got on my name over my life is I don't know where some of them come from.
It's because some people see anything out of the ordinary in a name and their mind goes Jill, like they collapse. It's like they start strong on the bars and then they just lose it and then they break their
this pile of limbs. I used to sign things C. Runciman for the longest time, and but after I started recognizing that some people called me Crunchman because they just assumed it was just my name with two capitals at the start.
If you were a breakfast cereal, that'd be great. Yeah.
Well, I've never met anyone with my name outside of my own immediate family. It's
that was my next question.
Well, it's Irish Scottish. It means workhorse.
Oh, really?
which fits.
By the way, it'd be really weird if your immediate family didn't have the same last name. So these are the Taylors, and this is our son, Chris Runciman.
My oldest daughter has a different last name.
Really? Well,
she's married.
There's got to be reasons.
She's married.
I get it.
My last name is Auger. It's not pronounced Auger. It's Auger. I know that for a fact. No one says it right. I even got the nickname Ogre for a while. Ouch. Yeah, Auger. But then in Canada, I'm surprised that more people don't recognize that it's French. Canada. I got told to stop being silly with the name of, because like, hey, I'm Christopher. I live in London, Ontario, and people.
That's
I actually had somebody go, where? That's in Ontario.
where is in Canada? Where is London, Ontario? Is it? I don't know on the map where it would be.
Detroit. Okay. You know where
Uh-huh.
Detroit is in the States?
I've heard of it. Okay, yeah.
Above Detroit on the Canadian side is Windsor.
Is it near the border?
No. Above
Just
Detroit,
just.
across the bridge is Windsor, right? 2 hours north of that is London, and almost 2 hours north of that is Toronto.
Sure, you're not that far from the border then.
Well, 2 hours away from any given point, really, because you can go over to the States in Sarnia, which is an hour and a half. You can go over to the States in Windsor, which is 2 hours. You can go to Niagara, which is 3 hours, and go to Buffalo. So,
Have you ever seen an American in person?
So I went to a convention in Novi, Michigan, and was corrected by every single person that I met there, who told me I sounded funny.
No, you don't.
Yeah.
They sound funny.
I don't at all. But in Novi, Michigan, or it's in Nova, Michigan, I was saying Nova, and they're going, "It's Novi, buddy." Right? I got corrected so many times for mispronouncing the name of this small city. But yeah, I've gone over to the States for a couple of things. I kind of like it here.
You know that Paul is from, he's from Michigan.
Oh, no.
Yes.
Oh,
it's
no.
True. It's true. Paul Pate stayed at my house before.
London's in the very middle of the V, buddy.
When Paul came to stay at my house, he ran immediately into what he called the water closet, and he kept flushing it. And he's like, "Look at this! The water just disappears." And I was like, "Paul, for one, put your shoes back on, man." I love that boy.
You're gonna have to at this point, because otherwise you'll expect abuse. I love Philip's answer on a couple of different levels. Philip Chandler is actually from London. He lives in another city now, but he's actually from here, and he actually went to the same school I did.
So you've met?
Well, online. We've never met in person.
No, and you guys went to the same school?
We may well have met at school, but I've always been.
Does he remember you at all?
Probably not, but I'm also substantially different than I was in high school.
Well, you weren't that tall.
Well, I grew until I was 21. So, and when I started in high school, I was 5'6", and when I left high school,
wow,
I was already 6'2", and then I kept going. So,
oh
yeah, it's yeah. So even if we'd known each other, I had hair down to the middle of my back, but was very clearly wear whatever the hell clothes I can find that fit me guy.
Wait, you mean hair from your head?
Yeah.
Okay, because otherwise I was going to say that's.
No, I shave all that so that I don't get shot in the woods. Yeah, but I just love the answer that London's in the middle of the V. What V, Paul? Or what V, Philip?
What kind of show is this?
When you look at Ontario on a map, and you'll see that there's this appendage that goes down and actually is cradled by America on three sides. That's what he's referring to. That's the V.
I'm an American. I don't look at maps. I have people tell me where things are.
Canada's not a part of the United States. Well, you should be.
I thought it was our 52nd state.
What's your problem? There's a Runciman company in my town. I can't remember what it is. Maybe an attorney or a realtor. Ugh. Find out. That's your mission, Paul Pate. Find them out. Phil is a year ahead of me. Here we go. Salty Snacks is also from London. Well, I don't know if he's from London, but he's in London.
Wow.
Oh, he even said so. London. Ontario. Kind of pokes into the U.S. You know what I'm talking about. Yeah.
So
It's
I hail from the Southern California region. Um, Again, remember we were making a joke a lot earlier about the Rose Bowl and Depeche Mode playing there. I really do live 13 miles away from the Rose Bowl.
is that
So
right?
I used to actually live in Pasadena for a while, and but I did not hear the concert that night. I couldn't hear it from my house.
So have you lived in other places in the States then, or no?
No, just California, only
So
California.
snow?
There is, but not anywhere where I'm not. Where I live, if I drive in, like right now, if I drive 40 minutes, I can get to like super snow, like
Okay.
skiing.
Okay.
Yeah. But if I drive 45 minutes another way, you're in the ocean, you know. And it's weird because if I drive 45 minutes the other way, I'm in Peru.
I mean,
It's crazy. It's
doesn't your
crazy.
car have brakes?
It's crazy. And, and if I go the 45 minutes the other way, I'm in 1971. It's so weird. Just weirdest things are happening. Yep, to help me.
1971 is what we call the province of Newfoundland. It's a Canadian joke, ladies and
I
gentlemen.
knew that. I knew that. I was going to say that, but
There's a wonderful thing about universality, though, especially in the Western the Western world. I hate when they say developed world. In the core Western society, which is Western Europe, the British Isles, Iceland, North America, right, and many parts of South America. There's such similarities throughout all of those different environments that it becomes almost it just doesn't matter at a certain point where we all are, because now that we've got this sort of unifying technology, and now we've got this global universality that goes on for us to be able to share ideas and to share images and to share interactions with people from hither and yon.
I love it.
It's
As a
great.
kid, it was my dream from like ages, again, like 10 to like 15 or whatever, was my dream to meet I was going to say a girl, but I didn't. But it was to meet like four other people that like one person would be the inker, one would be the, letterer, one would be the, I'd be the penciler, of course. But and then create stories like comic book stories like that. And I thought that would be the most ultimately cool thing, except I only knew one other person that was remotely into that. But now people can do that. Like you can collaborate. I've had people do voices that live in far, far away, maybe even Canada one day.
Well,
wink. But yeah, it's just I love that. That's the best thing about technology is the bringing together of people, which I know it also separates people too, but we're not those people.
I think it's measured responsibility, as it is with anything else, right? I mean, no matter what it is, and this goes back to the topic that Scott put out. A big thing about the opportunities that are presented to us now with technology and with interaction and exposure to other people's work on such a much easier scale, and exposure to other creators that you can work with and the like. I think that a thing that's always glossed over is that really challenging thing that I think most people on any given thing in life, really, but specifically in to do with art, discipline is the nastiest crux to bear. I think that having the facility to be able to sit down, stand up, spin in a circle, however you work, but to be able to engage in that working place or process for yourself and to get down to it, I think is the thing that really holds a lot of people back. Just routine, just get at it.
And I've always said this, it's how bad you want something, you'll do it. Including people do things that are detrimental to themselves, but they want it bad enough, they find it, So it's just, we're lucky we found this. I mean, we could, and if you learn anything tonight, look at the very last comment by Paul. I think that this is what this is what we've taken from this show.
Jim don't know nothing about snow.
Hence my cocaine jokes earlier, right? So.
Boy, oh boy, stay away from the mountain or you're going to have a sore face.
So I really, I don't know. When I get to the drawing stage of my next project, your show is going to bring me much, much, much more extended joy because I will be listening to it while I draw a lot,
Oh, that's great. I hope that, there we go, Paul. That's Cheeks and Chair. There you go. For me, I think that doing the stream, there's never anything that's just done completely altruistically, right? Because everybody does so from their own purview. Mm-hmm. And for me, doing the streams, and it's stuff, it's creating, and it's working that I'm going to be doing anyways. But to be able to do it from a streaming format, because there's a part of me that's unabashed. There's a part of me that I'm as absurd and mistake making and unsure of the process while I'm going through it as anybody else. I just don't care whether or not anybody sees that. And I think is the thing that lets me do the streaming. But if somebody can see what I'm doing in this ramshackle way that I approach working, and they can get something from that, hey, that's great. I mean, if there's sort of the random way I go about stuff and the random way that I see things and the hodgepodge imagery that I put together and stories that I put together, I can do serious ones, I can do those occasionally, but for me, it's all about just exploring any given idea. And I tend to be a smart aleck. So I tend to fit a lot of smart aleck perspective on my pieces. But if people get something out of that, if it's a process, if it's just the dulcet calming tones of my voice, if it's
yeah.
You said I was your Bob Ross the other day, and all I could think of was my son and I, my youngest son and I, the night before, had a conversation about ASMR. And when he said, "You're my Bob Ross," I went, "Oh God," because that just made me think I've become ASMR.
I think I called you the David Caruso of our generation.
I'll take that.
So, to Paul's point, he says, I find drawing relaxing.
Life drawing.
I find life drawing relaxing. Comics and animation not so relaxing. I could understand animation not being so relaxed, but comics, that's supposed to be isn't that the relaxing? I guess not. I've tried it. It's not relaxing.
Well, both are work, right? I think that for anything, you'll find a substantive change in the process if you look at, well, I'm doing this life drawing stuff. And this is the thing that you've got away from, might actually facilitate further adventure into either comic making or animation. Because if you're doing this life drawing pieces, like these sketches or whatnot from a model, and if you just scan all those and put dialogue balloons on them, who's to say that that's not the comic somebody's been looking for?
Okay, we're almost one face.
Hold on. That is it. Yeah.
We are named Prim.
There's something for people to get out of tonight. I think that's
nightmares. Give me nightmares.
Any efforts that you make, anything that you do, if it's sketches, if it's doodles, if it's like my sketchbooks are nuts. I know that the randomness of what I'm doing, just sketching things as I'm watching television.
Good. That's so good, man.
Oh, that's nice of you, but I think it's just pure chaos. But there's parts of me that looks at what I've got in my sketchbook, and I know that if I could just capture some of those, like that if if I can edit out some of the random scribbling that I do over top of my own drawings, that's a page. If I
Yeah.
scan it and then I put dialogue and story to it, because storytelling is just whatever we make of it, right?
Do you think that when you're drawing, and at what stage, if they took readings of like your blood pressure or something, when would it be the best? Like, oh, it's so relaxed, like I'm even now. Like, what stage of it would you say?
I can actually answer that.
Wow.
Because I have a blood pressure arm pumpy thing right here beside me. Because
You're
I
gonna have
had
to do that tomorrow then. You're gonna have, that's gonna be the theme of tomorrow's show. Then you're gonna have to draw and check your blood pressure, like when you're drawing, when you're
right now. I spilled all the batteries out.
Now your blood pressure's skyrocketing.
Because I got sick a year ago. I had a DKA. I've had tremors.
I don't know what that is. What is that?
I've had seizures since I was 28, and which is a little while ago. And so I had one, and for whatever reason, it shut off my body's ability to regulate insulin and to process sugar. So I'm now a type 1 diabetic.
Oh man.
And so that means 4 needles a day, and that's why I meter my streams to an hour and a half, 2 hours.
Is that factored in with your retiring?
So that's why I stopped after 21 years of working in a comic store, and I came home, and at this point the kids are grown up, and house and whatnot's taken care of. So
at this point, you should do everything that makes your life joyful, and just
sure.
Yeah.
Well, I am. I'm in a really good spot, and I've got a really supportive partner. It was actually Lori that said to me, my wife Lori, that said to me while I was at the hospital, you're retired from the store now. You're retired. You're going home. And well, when I had a diabetic ketone acidosis is what it's called, and so you're supposed to have about 5 to 10 microliters to a liter of sugar in your blood. And when I went into the hospital, I was at 41 and a half, and which is over average, and I was blind.
Oh my gosh.
I woke up 5 days after the seizure, thinking that I'm going to recover from it after a day or so, like I normally do, and but I just wasn't. And we weren't, and so Lori had said you should go in, and I said I'll go in tomorrow. And then tomorrow I woke up that next day from that conversation. I woke up and everything was just lights and color.
Oh my gosh.
So listen to your wives.
So when people go blind in real life, it's not like Daredevil and fun. It's
no toxic spill.
Different.
No toxic spill and an old man that saves you from the truck. No, it was
Chris.
And it came back. But
I grew up with a sister that had epilepsy, so I'm familiar with seizures.
They're fun.
Yeah, they're awesome. I think everyone can agree.
What's even better is for the people that are near me when this thing has one.
Well, you're 6'6" too, yeah.
Yeah, it's a case of, you see it's shaking, run, just run.
They're like, if this guy turns green, I'm getting out of here, because it's really scary, especially for people that haven't ever. It's scary even if you have. The 1,000th one is as scary as the first one, second one.
Sure it is.
But for people that aren't familiar with that at all, it's just they don't even know that exists. So, well, good.
It's a challenge, but so now my life is far more metered. But I got the blood pressure machine to check my state through the day, and to to see how I can get my blood pressure down and diminish stress.
Wow.
And so which is, I'm in a great place at this point. I still have it here beside me, but I don't engage it every day. I tend to check every other day, but and I'm in a great place. But yeah, it does have something to do with my computer just went out.
Oh, good, because I thought you were having for a second. I'm like, uh-oh, he triggered. He triggered.
No, hey! You know, there's something to be said for just taking care of oneself, really.
Absolutely. I'll tell you what, Christopher, look, I'll go like this so people can think we just fell asleep during the show.
I think it's turning back on. There we go. All right, we're back. And we're back.
Are we?
I'm stalled. That looks really good. That looks really
Hold
good.
on, let me do it too. So that's the thumbnail of the show. Hold on, let me bring on Paul again. I don't know something with the show, but it's going off the rails a little bit though. I'm talking about all this weird artwork and all these things. So wow, am I the host now? Well, welcome to the Jim Lujan Show. This is where dreams come true. And if you're out there in the audience, please type something so that I could see that you guys can still see me, because I don't know if I'm just talking to myself. It's I am in charge now. Everything that Christopher said is not true. Nothing you know is true. It's all fake. But while you're here, let me tell you about all the products you can buy from Jim Lujan, which is nothing. I guess we'll take questions from the audience at this point. Let's go. Oh, the sleeping man has returned. He's so sleepy. He makes... See, this is why you don't do shows at night, Chris, because you fall asleep. I told you it would happen. But
now my camera.
Oh, he's turned into a symbol now. He's suddenly the Thundercat symbol.
Yeah, it works.
I can hear you. I can hear you.
You can hear me. Let's just go with that for a second.
All right.
I think that what's really rewarding about all of this, and my picture I'll kick up in a second. It's just being ridiculous. It's the Jim Lujan Show, everybody.
Lujan. No, I'm just kidding. There you go.
Bingo. There we go. Okay, so I think that the benefit of being able to engage with everybody and to be able to meet people like yourself that I have found is to know that there's other creators out there like myself that are doing their thing. And I think that that's really rewarding. I think it's something that you can almost not expect to work so well.
Right. So, Chris, I'll tell you something truthfully. I mean this, because I know how this feels. When I've just discovered your stuff, I mean, in a couple weeks, 3 weeks, you know, it's like, and I'm fascinated by it. And it's just like, so you have a new fan, you have somebody looking forward to what you create. And I know how that feels because I've had people also tell me the same thing. And it kind of like gives you a charge. I think your YouTube channel is only going to explode more and more. I think when people start really, I think we should take it upon ourselves to us viewers to share I've shared your page with a few folks.
Cool.
Ken Mora, by the way, one of them. Maybe he'll get on here one day. You guys get it off. He's the guy that did the Caravaggio
yes,
book.
Yes, yeah. I enjoyed that book.
Yeah, you need to have every one of the artcasters on, every one of their fans and their family, have everyone in their families on.
Well, Gary Hodges put forward the notion that one way in which that we could all support one another is by engaging in dialogue on each other's shows. And, you know, there's definitely something to that. I think
Gary Hodges told me the one way that we could support each other would be to support him.
Oh yeah.
He said, all things through me. No one reaches the internet but through me.
You know, it really helped Jim out is if you buy my new book.
Yes,
advance orders soon. Yeah.
No, but I mean, one of the things I've seen other people do drawing demos of, you're just like a really natural and I mean, wow. I mean, the added fact of how good you are, that's kind of extra cool.
No,
But,
that's nice.
but you're going to get so tired of doing requests.
Oh, no, not at all.
We might take advantage of what we can.
Since the start of COVID, I am at 116.
What's COVID? What is that?
It's the Black Death.
We don't have COVID in America.
No, what do you got? You got COVID? You got the coronavirus?
But so what was that number you said? 100 and what?
I think I'm at 116.
Holy crap! That's
since March or May of, is that 2020?
That's insane.
2021. What the hell day is it? What year is it? 2020, I think it is.
Right now, it is 2023.
Yeah. I figured out earlier that I think I'm plotting a page. I think I'm putting together a page and a half now, a day.
Wow. And right now, it's fun to do the request, but I hope you don't. I mean, if you do get burned out, you just do something else. But it's awesome because those requests are crazy.
Well, okay. So some of the best ones that I've got, or some of the ones that really pop into my head. Frankenstein monster goes to kindergarten. Right. And so a lot of these are in one page extravaganza volume 1, the book I put out last year. Nicolas Cage gives the COVID address dressed as the Queen. Antonio Banderas is too sexy. A roving horde of vegan zombies. I mean, just the notion, just the idea in and of itself. I'm completely open to anybody else trying any of these ideas as one-page comics because they're not going to be the same as what I did. You know, you're going to get some mad ideas. Kaiju, rock, paper, scissor. Right?
Depeche Mode, ping pong tantrum.
When you gave me that, when I first read that, Depeche Mode, ping pong tantrum, I went, yes. Like it's just, and I really enjoyed the page that came together from that.
It came out great too.
Really,
it came out. That was insane. I think. Do you watch your YouTube numbers, by the way?
No,
you don't really pay attention to them?
I don't know if I'm talking to myself. So I have this habit. So when I'm working in the traditional setup, because so the way my desk is it's a 5 foot by 5 foot L, and it's built out of 2 bookshelves. I got to do. Dee Dee has asked me to, or suggested that I do a video of my studio because I think she largely just wants to see the menagerie of stuff that I have here that I work mixed media.
Yeah, I'd like to see that too. I'd be interested in that too.
Well, let me see. Hold on. Let's
wait. He's pulling the curtain back.
Oh,
this is what happens at night when Night Chris takes over.
Somebody forgot his pants. Hey, no. Okay, so in the studio when you come in the door.
Oh, nice.
Right? And then my studio space here is 11 by 16, and so I have a sitting area over here that my wife and I watch television on the couch that faces away from my studio. It's really important for me. And so there's pieces on the wall, like that's the bridge piece I talked about earlier, the credit ripper. Anyway, so and then this is all of my books are art resource books.
Oh, nice.
So
you got to do a one day do a feature on that, just that.
Yeah, the 3 books of the week that Gary and Dee Dee have talked about, I wouldn't know where to start. So when you come in, if you turn to the right, that's the lounge area, but then more bookshelf and more bookshelf and more bookshelf and the Muppets, lots of Muppets. And so the way that the studio is set up is, and then if you come around this way with my desk, more you get a feeling of bookshelf. So this is all below my photos here. This is all drawing materials. And these are the piles, by the way, that I talk about when I finish a picture. I go, throw it on the pile. Those are the piles. That's all finished drawings that I got to figure out what to do with. So this is all mark making tools that are here, and all kinds of different things to try. This is where I make the models with my grandkids. And then this is Corbin. Hold on. This is Corbin, who is perpetually beside my desk.
Hey, Corbin. Corbin, how's it going?
And then here are more drawers of paper stocks and more supplies.
What's up, Corbin? How's it going?
Yeah, how you doing, everybody? My name's Corbin. And then this is more paper materials that are here and painting supplies.
Wow.
Right. And then but this is 30 years, right? Of collecting and whatnot. And then this is the menagerie. So hold on a second here. So this is I'm leaning back from my desk now. So there is, my desk is 5 feet this way, 5 feet that way. My feet are size 15. Anyways, so on the opposite side of this is bookshelves that face out in both directions of more books. But my desk there's the digital setup.
Oh,
there you are, Jim. Hi, Jim. Jim seeing Jim. And then the camera and the mic, there's the overhead. It goes over my traditional workspace. This is the UFO page from today. There's the F-16s, I promised.
So when you're doing the show, you're looking out that way towards the wall, like looking at the paintings and stuff.
No, well, if I'm doing digital, I'm facing this way, but generally I'm facing forward because this is a camera.
And where are all the studio technicians that are in there with you when you do it? Are you union, Corbin?
You better bet your bottom dollar. I'd answer that, but I'm on a break. So this is all the brushes, stencils that I always forget to use. This is all pens, markers, paintbrushes, inks, and then all of the drawers are full of more. Let's see if I can get that in there. This is more supplies, more inks, right? And so, and then more paint, more whatnot. And so, and then behind me is, so I work on paintings here. I work traditional here. I work digital here. And I do crafting over there.
Are you doing freelance right now? Like as far as on the side or anything like that?
Yeah, oh yeah. Yeah.
You do like, I'm guessing, do you do like advertising graphics or anything like that ever?
No, I've never sat down to do that.
Oh, wow.
I've done things like that for people. I just
thought of a really great compliment. It's like, your art style's so good. You should do brochures for like resorts and things. You draw so good. It's like
my favorite art compliment is yes. So what do you do for a living? That is my absolute.
My mother used to always say, how come you never draw nice things?
Every mother says, why don't you draw something nice?
Yeah. That was my mother.
Or my other favorite, why don't you draw your cousin?
My dad gave me really good advice one time. He said, never listen to your mother. No, I'm kidding. No, he said, if you can figure out how to do something, and if whatever it is, and you write a book on how you did it, people will buy it and follow you. And I said, why don't you write a book on that, Pops? No, I didn't say that. But no, but that's really good advice. If you know how to do, if you can do something and tell people how to do it, or you really will develop a following. That's another reason I think you're developing a following too.
Well, I think that everybody wants to learn, and I think that everybody wants to try. Why don't we see how that guy does before I go and invest money in that?
Yes. By the way, good night, Paul Pate.
Good night, Paul Pate. Hey, Paul, thanks for your comment a minute ago. That was really nice of you. I take interruptions in stride during my stream because I get a lot of them. I got the cat bothering me, or I've got kids, I've got grandkids, whatever it is. You've got to be able to just find the work, right? But good night, Paul. It was thanks very much for coming out. What is Corbin's salary? What do I pay you? Pets. Yeah, that and his salary is offset by the cost of laundry for how many times he jumps up at me and coats me in here. So. But I think that when it comes to whatever it is that we're doing, because I think you're incredibly proficient for what you do. And I think that anybody that has an inclination towards wanting to animate, I think that anybody that has an inclination towards the idea of just stepping back from it, letting go of all the preconceptions, letting go of the anxieties and stressors that you're going to inhibit yourself with doing it, and just come at it in that bare bones punk rock, let's do it attitude that I think that you sort of came at things from the beginning, and then maybe unconsciously don't realize you're still doing today. But you have that underlying structure in there that you have solid stories. These are films. This is a structural narrative that follows from the conceived idea right through to its conclusion, and there's a lot to be said for that. It's a chore enough to put together something
creatively.
The volume that you're doing.
All my friends know this. I've talked to them, but I've told them all this at least once in the last couple of years. Creatively, I'm in a really, really good place. Like, I feel really good. I'm happy. I'm really happy creatively doing it. Now, like, there's always that little voice in the back of the head saying, financially, you could be making millions of dollars,
Sure.
But I don't know that I'll have to address that voice later. But right now, in the last couple of years, I feel like I'm finding a really sweet spot. I'm really happy with it, though, with what I'm doing lately. So,
I'm letting you read it.
I get it.
Was that on purpose?
He's like, and you could do dumb things with your life.
It's this thing. I'm with stupid. You point the wrong way.
I'm with stupid.
There's no, it's the seedy part of town is right here in the studio. There's
by the way, and I think we I feel like we've talked about this.
Yeah.
But my friends have always told me that my work looks like it should be filthy. Like the characters look like they should just be cussing all the time, and it should be like really hard R-rated. But they don't. My stuff's like PG-13.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think they're right. I think it does look, and I'm just
used to it. Is it a conscious decision for that?
I think it's because I want every character, like, I don't want any of the characters to be filler. I don't want any of the characters to be like, this is just a generic, don't get mad, anime. Like, this is a, generic character. I want every character to have like a personality, even the background characters, I want them to have a personality. And when you do that, it creates like a jungle of all these bizarre things and characters. And it's a lot of flavor it's
that intertextuality. It's just, you can't help it.
Yeah. So I think when you do that, when you don't have like, here's my main goofy character, and then all the rest are filler. When you don't do that, it's a lot easier to look at it and go, your mind just gets like, oh, this is seedy, or this is, because I do draw a lot of oddball, anti-heroes or, outlaws and things like that.
Yeah. But that sort of, the visual element, the stylized visual element, the stylized approach to it, it's still a clothing basically for a strong structural narrative body of character development. And so that, as we all individually in real life, in the really real world, the Matrix, we all clothe ourselves in comfort. We all clothe ourselves in our perception of, how we feel in the world around us, and how we feel that our engaged self, and so how we visualize ourselves internally, as opposed to the external part that never matches.
Are you also a pastor?
what counts, there you go. So what counts is the character, right? What counts is the self. And so when you draw these characters and you draw them and you allow those nuances of, Frank's just realized he's supposed to have clothes on. When if you're at home alone, you do your thing, Wildcat. There's something about that you can have the rough and tumble guys, you can have the business person, you can have whoever it is. Their character's going to shine through because you're less worried about the stereotypical behavior. You're less worried about the associated, well, this person's a gangbanger, therefore every second word's got to be an expletive, or every second thing has got to be some sort of, some kind of epithet. As opposed to, no, you're exploring the inner dynamics of this person, and you even get into their reflections. I like that a lot. The fact that you have characters reflect on things and go back in their own memories and things.
Yeah.
But, I mean, there's a lot to be said for that development into storytelling. And when we focus on those things, I think creatively, you can't help but natural growth and development in the visual exposition. You can't help for that. The more you do it, the more you're going to refine it.
I've always felt like the band members are more interesting than the lead singer. I've always liked Keith over Mick. I've always liked Martin over Dave. I've always liked, Sonny over Cher. No, I'm kidding.
No, there's definitely something to be said that I love in whether it's in a film or in a show or whatever it is. I love when the band finishes performing, and in that sort of perfunctory way of, you introduce the scene as they're closing out a song, and then the singer puts his arm around two girls and, fellas, see you after, wanders off with the girls, because that part, he doesn't matter. Yeah. His entire performance on stage, that's him, that's his persona in this thing. Goodbye, you're out. Because what we're really interested in is the responsiveness of those three for, oh, God, well, come on, we got to wrap up the equipment, guys. So-and-so never helps us do it. Yeah, what's the point of complaining? Let's just get that. All of that dialogue and all of that interpersonal development and all of that interconnection between those characters is so much more meat than the potato.
If you go see a small show, or especially a tribute band, you guys got a guy who's like Freddie Mercury, and in the final number, he's like, "I am a rock god." The crowd's going crazy, and then good night, everybody. And then 10 minutes later, he's folding cables, the amp, pushing the thing into the car.
His long, luxurious, teased up hair is pulled into a ponytail.
Yeah, to a man bun, and he's like. And he's like, "Where's my wristbands? Who Tommy, where's my wristband?"
Hey, there's something. Frank, actually, you've done something. I don't know if you realized it. Max Weinberg, right? Your reference of, I've always liked Max Weinberg over Bruce Springsteen. Bruce Springsteen's band, the E Street Band, was not only a bunch of incredibly talented musicians, but the most diverse array of personalities that you can't believe formed a band.
Right. Yeah.
I've never seen a more, incongruent group. Like, because Clarence Clemens on the horns, here's this big brother, and he's like, and he's this vivacious personality. There's Max Weinberg looking like he just had a crest. There's little Stevie and whatever the hell's going on there.
The E Street Band looks like a bunch of, they look like human Muppets. And then Bruce Springsteen would be Kermit. In the front.
I can't look at the Rolling Stones anymore. When I see them advertising anything, and when I see Mick Jagger coming to talk about whatever the new, we're going to be doing a new show in your region, and he's like, we're going to come on down to see it. But when in the 1980s, there was a show called Splitting Image or something like that.
Yeah.
And they're puppets. Yeah. If you saw the Rolling Stones,
I'm familiar with it.
Puppets once, they've become them. And so it's really incredibly unfortunate that they now look like the puppets that were meant to be emulated in the 1980s.
Genesis used that same puppet company in their video for
Land of Confusion.
Land of Confusion. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, we haven't even talked about this. It's incredible. That's another reason we bonded, our musical knowledge and taste. It's like,
oh, sure.
It's like we were obviously raised on MTV, both of us. Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. We're of the age bracket that all stopped and looked at the Bengals Walk Like an Egyptian at a certain moment. We all stopped and looked at that video.
Oh, this one. I'm right there with you. Susanna Hoffs, can't get enough.
You've got, if you don't get that reference, just watch the video and look for that.
Yeah, I love Susanna Hoffs.
And you're done. That moment in the song, and there's other parts in that song where I think she's walking around in underwear. That's not the part that matters.
I'll share this with you too. I just told this story to somebody yesterday. When I was a youth, I was not the best Catholic in the church, and all my brothers and sisters went to Catholic school. Pretty much, they all went, but I didn't. I went to public because I'm a rebel. I'm the last by many years, and my parents had me go to CCD, which is like training for your first communion. And the nun showed us a clip of Blondie, part of class, and was telling us like, "Look how horrible this is, and how bad," And she's telling us, and I'm like, "You did the wrong.
You're doing this.
You did the wrong thing, lady." Because I was like, "Who is that?" I am forever fascinated with this person from now on.
Look at that. Splitting Images came back.
Splitting Image, yeah.
I'm gonna have to find that. Yeah. Deborah Harry, I have never adored seeing any appearance, any acting performance of such a random person as whenever Deborah Harry shows up and stuff. Yeah. Because she always plays the best characters. Deborah Harry played the witch in Hansel and Gretel at one point.
Did she really?
And she's perfect. The best thing that she's done recently is the actor that plays the mom on Bob's Burgers. So, Bobby, come on over here, Bobby. You know that the mom.
Yeah.
Like the guy.
Yeah.
And sorry, he's bugging me. So, that actor has a bunch of videos. I think they're on YouTube of him dressed as Linda. This is before the show, doing this and what he's doing is an impression of his mother around the swimming pool. Don't get my hair wet. Oh my God, you kids, back off. No splashing. No splashing. His best friend who's come over and is dolled up with the blue eyes and the tight perm and the darling. Oh, this is gorgeous. It's Deborah Harry.
Oh no, really?
It's Deborah. And man, John Roberts. Thank you, Philip. And that's how he got the role. That's that's a great cast, by the way. Yeah, right here. Thank you very much, Gary. She's the witch in Tales from the Dark Side. Deborah Harry, all the way.
I thought Gary went to sleep. What happened?
Gary doesn't sleep. He's always at his desk.
Gary doesn't sleep. He waits.
He's in the home stretch. I've got a Chuck Norris. Who gave me that? Was that you?
That was me.
Chuck Norris, Fashion Runway Guide.
Yeah, I can't wait to see it. I can't wait. And I was also the one that said, maybe you can cut up some photos of like models or whatever and put them in there. And you're like, you want to do this yourself, buddy?
Want to do it yourself? Huh? What am I supposed to do here? Something for you? Like, are you the artist? No.
What? All of a sudden, this isn't good enough for you?
Oh, you a person. You're the one with the pencil, eh?
Oh, look at Mr. Rembrandt over here.
So I tend to, when those one-page comic suggestions come in, I tend to just do the reason that it's so arbitrary. The fact that I don't ask for paragraphs. I don't want dialogue. I don't want structure. There we go. It's the
that really true.
Yeah.
By the way,
that's
really
fantastic,
true.
Gary. That is fantastic. Wow. That's a home stretch, all right.
Mm-hmm.
There's and the last 8 pages are the worst, aren't they, Gary? Aren't they? No, they're not. You're on there.
Question
You're on.
yourself, Gary. Question
You're on.
every decision you've made.
You can do it. You can do it, Gary.
Yeah, if we look at the camera, stare at the camera and say, "You can do it, Gary. You can do it, Gary. You
Gary,
can do it, Gary."
are you done yet, Gary?
That's a real good page, Gary, isn't it? That's a real good page.
Now I feel like I have to just no, Gary, you're doing really good.
I was doing the
monsters.
the cornfield, the kid with the corn, sending people to the cornfield.
Malachi,
Was that his name?
Malachi, come out and come out. No, it's
No. We're like, isn't this? That's a real good idea. Let's have a birthday party, right, Tommy? Right. Yeah. Remember that episode where it's the kid from, I think, Lost in Space or whatever.
Oh, see, no, I'm doing Children of the Corn.
Oh no.
Malachi, come into the cornfield. There's whatever it is that gets you through that, those hurdles and gets you to a point where you've got such a volume of pages done that you're down to your last 8.
I didn't know that. I talk to Gary all the time. I didn't know he was on his last 8 pages. Yeah. That's incredible. That's great. I can't wait.
There's two things that really sort of set last thing, and then we should probably wrap up. There's 2 things that sort of set you on your path when it comes to making, whether it's animation or comic or whatever comic of whatever scale, right? Whether it's 1-page things, but at the same time I'm doing long form books. I always look at it the same way, and that is, as soon as you can get started, you're going, right? And as soon as you see the finish line, just keep rocking till you get there. Right. That's the two hurdles, because one or the other keeps
perfect is the enemy of finish. That's something I can buy.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. Just get it done. Get it done.
Yeah, and just let it be a mess and move on, and you'll go back and go, oh, it's not that bad after all. It's like when you look at a picture of yourself and you, God, I'm fat. Look at this picture. I'm so fat. And then 10 years later, you go, God, I was thin back then. Look at this.
I'm used to looking at pictures of myself like this.
That's how everybody else looks at you. So.
No, everybody else looks at me like this.
You were 6'2" in your senior year of high school, and then you grew afterwards.
Yeah.
Well, I'm 6'1", but I've been 6'1" since 3rd grade. And I dominated. I dominated those kids.
My yearbook in grade 9, my principal signed it to a lovely young lady.
No.
Oh yeah.
Really?
Because my hair, as I get older, my hair goes is dirty blonde. But when I was my hair was platinum blonde. It was yellow white, and because it's curly. Yeah.
I didn't want to say anything, but just 2 weeks ago, I realized you're Christopher, not Christine. I was actually now those messages I sent you make sense, right? Those private.
Yeah. You don't worry about your voice. You're still a nice lady. That was awkward.
How you doing, Christine? You don't mind if I call you Chris?
Hey, is it cold up there in Canada?
Wow. Did you I know Dennis Rodman grew like 6 inches in 1 year of high school.
I did that.
Yeah.
I was grade 10, 11. The summer of
feel dominant, like more dominant, like superpowers all of a sudden?
No, you feel really sore and uncoordinated.
Oh, really?
Because you're stretching. You're literally stretching, and everything aches. And so during that whole process, that period of that growth spurt, because I hit puberty at 16. Best puberty story. And well, let's wrap up. Our youngest, and I'm sorry if you ever watch this, son, or if any of the other kids ever watch this, don't tell him, Dad.
Terrible.
Our youngest, when he was going and when he was in school, and they got to the section in his school about puberty, it was the worst for him. He's just like, nope, I don't want to hear it. I don't really care about this. I got older siblings and they talk about it, And so, okay, well, it's 3 days, buddy. You're going to get through it, right? On the 3rd day, he comes home. There's 5 of us, and my wife and I and a few of the other kids are watching television in the living room, and he hears the roaring sounds, and he comes and he says, "What are you guys watching?" And that voice breaking teenager, and we went, Teen Wolf. Teen Wolf? What's that about? It's about this young man who's going through changes with his body. Forget it, and he leaves the room.
Did he say, "Come on, Scoob, let's get out of here"?
No, it was just like, dude, I'm totally going the other way, right? Right, the other way.
Oh my
No,
God.
it was just totally a case of I purposely turned to him and started explaining it like it's puberty. So, because it's actually what it's
That's
about.
one to grow on, I think.
Yeah. Listen, that's been fantastic, and I really appreciate everybody that's joined us and everybody that's contributed to our conversation. It's been a lot of fun. Again, if anybody that has tuned in hasn't looked at, and anybody that watches this afterwards hasn't looked at what Jim is producing, I put in the content, the comments down below the video, I've got your links for your YouTube and your Instagram up there. So please go and check out Jim's work, and take just there we go. Even see, I get sidetracked and I get right back to it. So yeah, so anybody that has the opportunity to check out each other's work, and anybody feel free to put anything you're working on in the comments as well, or anything that if let's get people looking at each other's pages and stuff like that. So anybody that doesn't have each other's links, feel free. You've got my blessing to go ahead and put your link up in the comment section, because it's important that we're all paying attention to what each other are doing, largely because there's an energy that comes from that. You look at the execution of somebody else's work, and you can't help but be inspired by that.
I agree.
There's going to be something inside of what they're doing that you're going to see, and you go, "Oh, I've never approached it from that angle. Maybe I'll give that a shot." So,
or we might go, "Oh, Frank is still going through puberty. I see him."
Well, now that I know Frank's going through puberty, that explains an awful lot.
Emotions. Yeah.
There we go. I got to spy on a blind date. Well, my eyes were closed for a while.
He's making fun of your blind story from earlier. That is tasteless, Gary.
That's Gary.
That is just wrong.
Gary.
How dare you?
Let the zingers come. Let the zingers come. That's fantastic. All right. So, Jim, is there anything that you want to? Is there anything else you want to?
I just want to say thanks for you doing what you're doing, and letting. I just get the feeling like you're at the beginning of a really cool new phase. I mean, I'm telling you, as a fan,
I think so.
Creatively, I feel like you're a natural. Your hosting talents are natural. So yeah, well, you're very good. You're really good. So continue to do what you're doing, and I just wanted to let you know that too. I think
I appreciate that a lot. I really like the idea of having other people join me and to do stuff. And if there's at any time anything that I can do to help anybody out with their journey, hell yeah. And I'm looking forward to your next film. I'm looking forward to your next project. I'm still going through your back catalog.
Yeah, let me know. Here's what I'll say. If you've gone back and watched my old catalog, leave a comment or something, because I like to hear what people have to say.
I got to go back and put a comment on Hard Crumbler. Hard Crumbler, because there's a shot in that, and anybody that hasn't seen this, you've got to see it. There's a shot in that where the Crumbler uppercuts a guy. The camera angle, by the way, has just done a turnaround, and then he uppercuts a guy, and the camera we're looking at the back of the guy as he's getting uppercut by the Crumbler. He goes flying up in the air towards us and lands in the garbage bin. And it's just brilliant. There's
Thank
just
you.
something about that made me stop and go back to that, because it was just, I'm like, and it's, yeah, you know, there's just energy to it. And I think that anything that, when you have an opportunity, anything that like that pops up when you're looking at somebody else's work, that you look at it for a moment and go, yeah, that's, you know, and those little moments of connection that we find with other people's work, whoever is making things, somebody's making that connection with whatever you're doing too.
I appreciate it. I really do appreciate it. And one day they'll build schools with my name on it. So
And nobody will pronounce it correctly.
no.
Is it what school do you go to? Lujan? Lujan Technical?
Yeah.
Technical?
They'll tear the schools down the next year, but at least they'll build them.
Yeah, no, mine will be the Crunchman's Academy of Dance for some reason. Yeah. All right. Thanks very much, everybody.
Thank you,
Chris.
Thank you,
Jim, for coming on out. Oh, did you want to show the trailer for your new piece? Did you have that set up?
Sure.
Okay. So
I don't have it set up, but I think I might have sent you the link earlier. But no, you know what? Just go to jimlujan.com. It's all my stuff's there.
Yeah.
And then I love feedback, you guys. If you're seeing my films for the first time or the 91st time, just shoot me a note on the comments or send me an email or do whatever. Feedback's good.
Not
I
enough
don't care what you say, but you can send it to me anyway.
What, are you afraid of the color blue? Yeah, maybe a little more body to that comment.
Don't know what it means, but it's funny.
Are you afraid of the color teal? Anyways, thanks very much, Jim. Thank you very much, everybody, for coming in. I'll be streaming tomorrow, 2:00, and Monday through Friday. Thanks very much, guys.
Thank you, guys. Thanks.